I keep staying up way too late to read this book because I physically cannot put it down. Like, tell me that doesn't bring you tons and tons of joy. And like, damn, I kind of miss school. A book has not made me sob like that since I think probably A Little Life. I have to read 1,200 pages in 7 days, so wish me luck. Hi, my name is Katie. It's almost fall. All of the students are going back to school. What better time to read a bunch of dark academia? I haven't really read or watched a lot in this genre, but it's taking over the internet. And one of my favorite authors of all time came out with a dark academia on Tuesday, and I got an autographed copy, so I gotta do a video about it. I will be reading 6 of the most popular dark academia books that I have found. So a little refresher on what dark academia is. Basically, we are studying. We're in an academic setting. Typically, there's some competitiveness, some toxic study culture happening, and then also some dark themes, whether that be toxicity and manipulation happening in the academic space itself, or murder happening, one of the characters doesn't survive, cult-like situations. There's gonna be some spooky stuff happening, and I'm so here for it. Let's just go through everything I'm gonna read. I read a lot of audiobooks, so I have tried to request all of these from my library. This is the book that I'm going to be primarily reading on audiobook, so I'm gonna try not to read it physically so that I have enough audiobook to last me through this journey, because my dog, who is chewing his bone in the background, we go on a lot of walks, so we're gonna need an audiobook. This is about a super secretive, prestigious school. Tuition is free, but there's some interesting things going on already, and I'm feeling a little spooked. They're completely isolated, and they're there for 3 years, but they can't speak to anyone, go anywhere outside of Catherine House for those 3 years. It's like even more prestigious than an Ivy League, and everyone who graduates goes on to do crazy, amazing things. I'm already so hooked. Then we have Vita Nostra, and this is giving me very similar vibes to this. The synopses are very similar. Sasha goes to this Institute for Special Technologies, and it's in a remote village. It seems very isolated, but here's what the synopsis says. She quickly discovers the Institute's special technologies are unlike anything she has ever encountered. The books are impossible to read, the lessons are obscure to the point of maddening, and the work refuses memorization. Using terror and coercion, the school does not punish students directly for their transgressions and failures. Instead, their families pay a terrible price. Also, this cover, gorgeous. Very excited about that. Then we have a booktube book talk darling. I'm finally going to be reading Bunny by Mona Awad. I read All's Well. I know I love Mona Awad's writing. This is a 5-star prediction. I really think I'm going to love this. This is about a clique of saccharine girls who call each other Bunny. There is something called a smut salon in here, and it gets very sinister and very culty, and if it's gonna be anything like All's Well, I'm so here for it. I'm very, very excited to finally read Bunny. This is The Secret History. I couldn't do a dark academia vlog without reading this book. This is like the dark academia book that everyone read and loved. I've heard some interesting things about this, so I'm not sure if it's actually going to work for me, but the book says its characters become evil, so we're gonna follow that journey. Finally, we have The Atlas 6. Book Talk's darling that got so much hype when it was independently published that it is now has a run under a traditional publisher, which is really, really exciting that something like Book Talk can do that. Social media continues to amaze me. There's a lot of hype about this. There are a lot of people saying now that this is overhyped, so we're gonna find out. This is about 6 people. They're being inducted into the Alexandrian Society, and one of them is not gonna survive their first year. It's the dark element of this one. The back says, secrets, betrayal, seduction, power. Welcome to the Alexandrian Society. That's what we are going to be reading this month. I'm so freaking excited for this. As of filming, it is August 26th, but we're gonna pretend it's already September because then I can pretend it's fall. It is like 86 degrees outside and I'm wearing long sleeves and fall colors because I want it to be fall. Maybe if we read things set in fall and dress like it's fall, we can convince nature to be fall. You're probably seeing this in September, so I hope you're having lovely fall weather and you're not sweating your ass off in a long sleeve shirt like I am. My dishwasher is going, so ignore the dishwashery sounds, but I already have an update for you. I'm over halfway done with Catherine House. And we need to talk about this. I do not understand why this book has such a low rating. This is so good. So like I said earlier, Catherine House is this elite university, and basically it's 3 years, but it's non-stop. So there's no summer break, there's no winter break, there's no break. You go to Catherine House, and the second you step on the grounds, basically you're there for 3 years unless you like fail out. And then everyone who goes there has these elite, illustrious careers and lives after they leave Catherine House. And it seems like everyone there has something that they're hiding. There's also this like secretive department, and there's something sinister going on with that whole situation. There are some like ritual moments, and I'm loving it. I absolutely love like secret society, tradition, weird, creepy things. I'm in. So far there have been some dark things, but we are still getting a lot of the like class time. They don't bring anything with them. They don't bring any clothes with them. Everything is free for them. So everyone has the same like jeans and t-shirt. Everyone has the same bed linens. You can't bring any photographs with you, no books, no music. You don't bring anything with you. You give everything up for Catherine House. It definitely feels like a fever dream in the way that I would love to see this adapted into a movie. I just watched Midsummer last night. I love the way that in the beginning of that movie, there are scenes that the transitions are so impeccable and fever dreamy. When she gets up, when she's talking to Pelle on the couch before they go to Sweden, and she's like crying, she goes to the bathroom. And then the way that the camera like goes up over the door and it closes, and then she's in the airport bathroom, so freaking good. There are a lot of abrupt transitions in here, and I think that like cinematography style would be so cool to see. I broke my own rule and I started reading it physically because I really wanted to know what was gonna happen. And then I just made an elaborate dinner, and so I was listening to it in my headphones while I was making dinner. And now over half the book is gone. So I'm not gonna be able to stop myself now. I'm just gonna finish this possibly tonight, and then I'll let you know my final thoughts. I wasn't gonna talk to you until I finish this, but it's split into 3 parts, the 3 years that they're at Catherine House, and I just started part 3. And I need to talk to somebody about this. This book is giving me like very severe flashbacks to college. I haven't read very many academic books like set at a university since I graduated. And I graduated over a year ago now. And like, damn, I kind of miss school. I love my life now, and I'm happy with my job, and I'm fulfilled in my social life and everything, but just the way that they are constantly learning and growing as people because of their studies, and then having these long, drawn-out conversations about these really heady topics, and also drinking so much wine, making friends, and having relationships, and just there's so much intimacy and knowledge that happens in college. The author, Elizabeth Thomas, she went to Yale, and it's just very, very obvious that she went to a prestigious school where these sorts of conversations were happening. And it's just like, I don't know, these memories keep coming up of like very, very similar things that have happened to our characters in here. And then they also have these conversations where they're in different concentrations, different like majors. One of them is talking about very hard science, chemistry type science, very mathematical. And our main character Inez is studying more art history, liberal artsy type things. This person she's talking to says this thing and is trying to explain this hard science thing to her. And she comes back with, oh, it's like this. And it's a fine arts, liberal arts term that she's learned about in her studies. And that was my favorite thing about university, was learning that all of these disciplines are all trying to answer the same questions. And so they're really not that different. They're just different approaches to answer these same questions and think about these same things. We're really just trying to understand our world and the human experience. And I loved how real it was in here and how understated it was. It's just making my brain so freaking happy. And then throughout the whole thing, there's this sinister undertone. Something's not quite right. I love this book. I was not expecting this. I almost didn't choose this book to read for this video because it's got such low ratings. I was thinking, probably gonna skip that one. I don't think that's gonna be for me. I'm so glad that I picked this up because it's putting me right back at university and all the best things and all of the uniquely young people trying to learn as much as possible and think deeply about things. It's just incredible. They're also trying to have as much fun as they can and getting drunk and stealing a bike and stealing cookies from the kitchen and just having this friend group. And it's just very, very interesting. The way that we're exploring intimate relationships right now is so real. It reminds me a little bit of Normal People in the level of real intimacy that we're getting to see and the discussions that are happening between characters. I'd never seen a sexual relationship depicted the way that it was in Normal People, and it's reminding me of the way that some relationships are being described in here. I almost want to stop reading because I don't want to wake up tomorrow and not be able to read this book. Oh gosh. Last night I finished Catherine House. I love this book. 5 stars. I hate rating books, but this is an easy one. 5 stars. The ending, perfect. If you don't like ambiguous endings, you will not enjoy the ending on this one. But I absolutely loved the way that this ended. It reminded me a lot of the way that the Raw Shark texts ended. I know that's very obscure and not a lot of people have read that book, but like this book, it also deserves more hype. And I love ambiguous endings. I think this would be a really good book club book. Our characters are thinking about a lot of big topics and they're thinking deeply. And I think this would be a good book to start discussions. And also I think the way that you interpret the ending of this book could be a really cool discussion with a book club to try to figure out what that says about each person, the way that they interpret the ending of the book. I had a really fantastic time with this, and I was reading some of the notes in the back about like interviews with the author and what she was saying about why she wrote Catherine House and what her inspiration was. And she talked about how she wrote this while she was in her 20s after she had graduated from school, and it was being written looking back, like a nostalgia about that university time. And I felt that so hard because I'm in my 20s, I've already graduated from university, and I was reading this book. It felt so nostalgic and made me have that nostalgia about university and looking back on the discussions that I was able to have and the experiences while in a university setting. Somebody explained to me why I've never read dark academia before now, because I think it's my thing. I think this is definitely for me. I can't believe I read this all in one day. I have some updates for you. I am like 130 pages into Babel. And I was gonna wait a little bit to chat to you about this, but I think I'm ready for initial thoughts. Most of it I am loving. Our main character is from Canton, and he has grown up with an English woman living in his house, and she has been teaching him English, and he's been reading a lot of like fiction novels in English. His mother has just died from disease. This man shows up at his house and takes him to England. He learns Greek and Latin. He's living in this man's house. Then he goes to Oxford, to Babel, and he's studying translation. So much has already happened. Like, he's already had to give up his name. Like, we as readers are not told what his name is because this man who takes him in doesn't even want to know what his name is. He just wants him to pick an English name. So he picks the name Robin Swift. We don't even get to know what his name is, as this kind of way to show that England doesn't care what his name is. They want him to pick a name that's easy for them to say and They don't even want to take the time to learn this boy's name. They want him to pick a new one. There's a lot of conversation about translation and empire and colonialism, and most of the people that Robin is interacting with are incredibly racist. They're talking about all these harmful stereotypes and then saying, oh, but not you. You're not like that. You're special. It's just horrible. Most of the other students in his class are also extremely diverse. His best friend is Indian. We're getting to understand how they're interacting with each other. There's also this secret society going on. That secret society is kind of opening his eyes to the awful things that the university is doing and the reasons why we have this disparity of power and wealth and the people who are benefiting from that and how they're very much intentionally doing that. I'm loving the conversations that we're having. The only thing that I'm not loving is the tone of the footnotes, and this sounds like something really stupid to bring up, but it's taking me out of the story because some of these people, the characters in this book, have really messed up views of the world, and it's almost like R.F. Kuang doesn't trust her readers to understand that they're awful people, and so she explains, oh, but he's wrong. And there are a lot of literary references in here that go over my head. There are a lot that I get, but that I get only because I did an English degree. So part of me is like, yes, great, this is really accessible, but the other part of me is like, did we really need all of these? What is the tone of these footnotes? I'm just having a bit of a rough time with them. So I'll continue to update you on my thoughts of the footnotes. I know that's like seems like a stupid thing to be talking about, but it is taking me out of the story a little bit. Overall, I am very much enjoying it. It's talking about some of my favorite concepts, and there is this magic in here that is kind of built on translation and built on the fact that there is a difference between what I say in one language and what I say in a different language. Like, those things are not direct one-to-one matches, and there's like a magic that comes out of that. One of my favorite concepts is objet a. If you studied Lacan, you know what I'm talking about, but you probably haven't studied Lacan. It's very complicated and I cannot even explain it myself. When I say apple, I have a vision and a knowing of what I'm trying to portray to you. I have an apple I'm trying to put into your brain, but when I say apple, the apple that your brain makes up is not the same as my apple, because we can't have a perfect one-to-one. That would mean that like our brains are directly communicating, so language fails us basically. And so the difference between what we mean and what we say, that's objet a, and that's the thing that like we are striving to find. We want to be understood fully and completely, but we never can, and there's like a lot of different psychology things that come out of that. If you're interested in talking about like film and Lacan, I would love to in the comments, let me know. Anyways, I'm really enjoying that aspect of this, and I'm gonna keep reading with, you look so smushed. I'm gonna keep reading with Smushy Bear over here. We have in dark academia fashion, we have started to decorate for fall. So I have this lovely orange blanket, an orange pillow. I did also get some mushroom decor because I love mushrooms. It's a mushroom mug. Isn't that adorable? It's so cute. I got a very nice cider and cinnamon candle, which smells delectable, even though it's currently 94 degrees outside. So we're trying our best to bring fall into our lives. I'm gonna be quiet and go read Babel. There are 5 books, so I am through book 1 into book 2 right now. I'll update you when it makes sense to update you. You know the drill. I'll see you later. I just finished book 3, and something has occurred that I was not expecting. The dark has been solidified into dark academia. At the beginning, I said that I wasn't sure that I loved the tone of the footnotes, and I've been thinking a lot about them, and I think as the book progresses, they become more and more useful and interesting to read. I felt like R. Kuang didn't trust readers to know when characters were saying things that weren't true, and now I'm feeling like as the history that we're talking about becomes more and more history that has been deliberately covered up, that is not known by the general public, and also this is a work of fiction, and so there are things in here that didn't actually happen. It's becoming more useful to have the footnotes. It feels in that way almost like you're watching a director's cut, where you're seeing behind the scenes and this is the true fact that inspired this. But also the footnotes are there in a Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell way, where it's just additional information. This is lore about this fiction fantasy world, and also that history piece. And also there's a lot of different languages in here, and so I think it's important that our author is letting us know the translations for things. There's a lot of this that could go right over readers' heads, myself included, if those footnotes weren't in here. So I'm getting along better with the footnotes. The story itself, I am absolutely loving. It's dark in multiple different ways. There's a secret society. There is danger afoot. There is also this fact that colonialism is something that our characters are directly experiencing. Most of the people that we're following and getting their inner thoughts of, they are people who are being discriminated against. And it's awful, the things that they're experiencing. And it's awful because they are realizing that this college they're going to and this system that they are now a part of is perpetuating that discrimination that they themselves are feeling. And so it's a really awful place for our characters to kind of be in mentally. They are a part of the problem because they are perpetuating this system. And so it's a really interesting commentary on the way that our world works, and it's also got magic and secret societies in it, and it's very entertaining. And then something just happened, which is a lot, and I'm really, really excited to see what happens after this reveal. So I don't think I'm gonna check in with you until I have finished the book. Hopefully I can do it in the next 2 days. I'm getting a little behind on my reading. This is the type of book that I don't want to just push through and finish in a few days. I'm taking my time with it. I'm taking multiple weeks to read this because I just feel like I want to sit in this world and sit with the things that I am learning and unpacking as I read. So I've got my cup of tea, I've got my book, I've got my candle, I've got my candle burning. We were in full fall mode. I have decorated for fall, so let me show you my fall decorations, because obviously that's why you're here, not for dark academia books, but for fall decor. Okay, so first off, I have this garland on my little bookshelf TV stand here, and then I also got, this is supposed to be for like a scrubby, but I put these little caramel apple suckers in it. Instead, it's a little bat. This is my favorite thing that I have gotten, and it is a snow globe with dog ghosts that are trick-or-treating. Like, tell me that doesn't bring you tons and tons of joy. Excuse my cleaning solution in the back here. This is Sully's fall treat. It's a pumpkin witch toy that he has been greatly enjoying playing with. And then my last decoration is this black cat. Can you believe that I found one? He's like, I'm not a Halloween decoration. I'm a kitty. It's Ivy's season. It is black kitty season. Ivy only cuddles with me when it's cold outside. So I'm excited to regain Ivy cuddles. I just ugly cried finishing Babel, so I look a little rough around the edges. R.F. Kuang knows how to write a book. This is incredible. Sully is chewing on his bone in the background, so I apologize if you can hear that, but I need to tell you about this book. I bet his chewing is shaking the camera. I literally started sobbing while I was reading this book, and he got concerned and came over and put his bone on top of me so that he could lay on me and comfort me while still chewing his bone, which was very cute. I wrestled with this book the whole way through, and I think this is not a book that is there to entertain you, even though for the first chunk of the book, I was highly entertained. The first chunk of this book is very academia. We're studying. We know that things are going on that are not okay. We know that the colonialism of the British is harmful, and we know that this empire is exploiting people in really awful ways. But it's not until, I would say, 3/4 of the way into the book that the tone shifts and it becomes really violent and really dark, and I at least reading it was kind of forced to reckon with, this is not a book that's there for your enjoyment. Like, you need to think about the way that you are complicit in colonialism and complicit in exploiting other groups of people. God, I really loved this book. I'm gonna think about this book for a very, very long time. It's exceptional. I can't think of another word for it. Big books kind of freak me out. This book needed to be the length that it was. I was struggling with some of our characters' motivations for actions, but at the end of the book, I feel like I've accomplished something by reading this, and also that there is a lot of work that still needs to be done, because academia is still a very closed off system, and the relationship of academia to supporting white supremacy is something that still exists. A book has not made me sob like that since, I think, probably A Little Life. Yeah, lived up to the hype 100%. I love dark academia. This is the darkest dark academia because it's steeped in truth, and it's just, I feel the same way about this that I did with the Poppy War. R.F. Kuang does a great job of taking these horrifying things that have happened and are still happening and creating this fantasy world around them, but you still leave the book knowing that you have learned something and grown as a person. Next book is going to be Vita Nostra, which is a book that is translated. So interesting to see how I feel about the act of reading a translated book after the words of Babel, all translation is a form of betrayal. Good night. Hi, I have finished Vita Nostra, and I have matched my outfit to the cover. So we've got a girl, she's in this black dress and it's got some white details, hence my outfit. I actually really love this dress, and it's definitely too hot to wear today. I will be changing immediately after filming this clip, but it's got like really cute like button detailing. I really love this outfit. Anyways, we need to talk about Vita Nostra because I absolutely loved this book. I would say this is the most speculative of the books that I have read. Everything I've read so far has had speculative elements in it. There's been some magic unexplained science situations going on, but this one is the one that got the most out there in a way that I really thoroughly enjoyed. The things that our characters are studying to do is not explained to them because it's unexplainable, and so throughout the book we get to follow our characters' journey towards figuring out what it is they're actually studying to become, and it's so creepy and unsettling and just really lovely. This is also the most high stakes, like academically. The things they need to do to study are so like counterintuitive. Like it says, the work refuses memorization. They basically have to do all these seemingly impossible tasks while their professors say, I'll never ask you to do anything impossible. It's just so good. If you like dark academia and you haven't picked this up, I would highly recommend you do so. I do have to say, I did not like the ending of this book. I did not like it at all, and that's a personal preference. I didn't like it in the same way that I didn't like the ending of the TV show The Haunting of Hill House, and also the ending of one of my favorite books, Crime and Punishment. Did not love the ending of this, and I felt similarly about the ending of this that I did about this one. And I'm not going to say any more than that. If you've read Crime and Punishment, I'm not spoiling the end of this. They're different endings, but just the way that it ended bothered me in the same way. I do have to correct something that I said earlier. I said this was a Russian book. It is translated from Russian. Our authors are from Ukraine, so I apologize for that misstep. A lovely viewer pointed that out on the book haul that I did about this. This is Ukrainian literature, not Russian literature. Something that I love about the dark academia books that I have read so far, sorry, Sully's sniffing the camera. They seem to be taking these concepts that are very common in academia, things that I have encountered before, like semiotics, or diving into with Babel translation. The concept that the magic system worked off of was similar to something that I had studied before and had multiple existential breakdowns about before, and the same goes for in here. Catherine House and Vita Nostra also took pieces of academics that I am very familiar with and have thought deeply about and took them to the extreme and made this fantasy speculative story about that, and I just really love it. It reminds me of Frankenstein a lot, which is one of my favorite books. This idea of taking some science academic thing that we study now and taking it to the extreme, and then using that extreme to extrapolate out information about what we are doing today. This deals really heavily with language. If you're somebody who enjoys thinking about different parts of speech and different speech moods, I think you will get an extra piece out of this. That's not something that I love learning about, and that did not take away from my enjoyment of this book. It was just so enthralling. I read most of this on audiobook and took a lot of walks because I just wanted to keep reading. Absolutely recommend this. Really, really loved it. I'm really loving this video. I love dark academia. I am so freaking here for it. I have read 3 books. I have 3 books left. This video is already a success. I have to read 1,200 pages in 7 days, so wish me luck. I keep not updating you because I'm waiting to have something good to say, and I'm almost done, and I don't think I have anything good to say, and I'm really sorry about it. I know a lot of people love this book, but it's just not for me. I'm not saying this is a bad book. If you like this book, I'm so glad that you like it. I think people should enjoy the things that they enjoy. It's not my job to tell you what you should enjoy. It's my job to tell you the things that I like and don't like about books. It's reminding me of a badly written, poorly acted Netflix fantasy series. There are many of them on all of the streaming platforms ever since Game of Thrones blew up. And I mean, even before that, fantasy has always been a huge genre. Stories similar to this, where we have a bunch of young people who are all attractive, who are all like lying to each other and trying to manipulate each other and trying to get ahead, and there's lots of competition and there's magic. I watch those shows, but they're the kinds of things that I put on when I don't have something else that I would rather watch. I pretty much watch anything fantasy. The settings are always really beautiful. The costuming is always really cool to look at. I like to watch things that are fantasy. So I watch a lot of those types of things. I don't read a lot of those types of things because there are so many other fantasy books that I want to read more. Reading takes up more brain power than watching TV for me. So I would rather spend my reading time when I have that brain power reading something else. So I've been listening to the audiobook for this. It's a great audiobook because I can't make myself read it physically. And I'm really sorry about it. The physical book is very, very pretty. There are illustrations of our characters. And like this, I think this will give you an idea of the vibe that's happening. This is the image that we're looking at. That perfectly encapsulates the vibes of the book. So the first, I would say half to 3/4, I really didn't like, and I would have DNF'd if it hadn't been for this video. And then now things are getting interesting. I have an idea for what went down. I'm not gonna spoil, but I'll let you know if I was right or not when I finish the book. I have 30 minutes left of the audiobook, so I'm actually gonna take Sully on a walk now, and I'm gonna go finish it, and I'll let you know. But I didn't check in with you when I read the last book, and so I wanted to check in the middle of this book. But I'm almost done with it, and I don't like it, and I'm really sorry. Let's just finish it, and then we can be done with it. Okay, bye. It's the next morning, and I have a stomach bug, so I look and feel awful. But I did want to let you know that I finished reading the Atlas 6 this morning, and I did not like it. The last quarter of the book was the most interesting quarter of the book, but it's still, the dialogue was just like not very well written. The characters felt like teenagers. I didn't really understand the motivations of the mystery situation that's going on that we're trying to figure out what happens. I guessed the ending. I'm just not, it just wasn't a good time, and I'm not interested in it, and that's why I haven't picked it up yet. I knew that it probably wasn't going to be for me. And I was right, it wasn't for me. So, moral of this story is I should listen to myself when I think I'm not going to like something and not pick up things that are hyped just because they're hyped. That's the update I have. I don't know if this video is going up on time because I still have 2 books to read and it's Monday and this video is supposed to go up on Friday. And one of the books is 500 pages. Hopefully the next time you see me, I'll feel better. Hi. This is not dark academia related, but I just got the call from Canine Companions and I'm getting my second service dog puppy to raise in a month. I'm so excited. For anyone who doesn't know me in real life, I raised a service dog named Kermit. Here's a picture of Kermit. And he now works as a service dog in Texas. And I did that while I was in university a few years ago. And now I have Sully. He's my dog. He's not a service dog. He's just a regular pet. But I wanted to raise another service dog for a long time. And I've been on the wait list for about a year now. And I just got the call that they have a puppy available for me. So I'm going to get him in October. And I am really, really excited. So stay tuned for lots of puppy content. I have a whole zoo of creatures now. I also have a book update for you. I've started The Secret History. Donna Tartt narrates the audiobook. I don't love the audiobook. Usually I love it when authors narrate their books, but for whatever reason, I'm not loving the way that it is acted, which makes me nervous because if anyone knows how to act it, it's going to be the person who wrote it, which makes me feel like maybe I'm not going to enjoy it, which would be a huge bummer. I'm still on chapter 1, so I don't have that much to say about it. Why is everyone named Bunny? There's a character in here named Bunny. There's a character in Catherine House named Bunny. There's a character, obviously next I'm reading Bunny, and all of the girls call each other Bunny in Bunny. So, what is it with dark academia and characters named Bunny? Someone explain to me, please. I'm gonna do my very best to like this book. I didn't love the Atlas 6. I know I'm gonna love Bunny. So even if this doesn't work out, the last book I think is going to be a 5-star. So let's hope that this goes well because it's 550 pages and I don't want to read 550 pages of something that I hate. I'm going to read at least 200 pages. If I want to DNF at 200, I'm going to DNF at 200 because life is too short to read things that you're not enjoying and I probably should have DNF'd the Atlas 6 and I didn't. I will check in with you when I reach 200 pages and we will reassess. I'm not quite 200 pages in. I'm on page 176. I'm reading this on audiobook. I started trying to read this on audiobook and then stopped because I really didn't like the audiobook. But I have way too much to do to read this physically and to read Bunny physically, and Bunny's the shorter one, so that's what I'm reading physically. I'm reading this on audiobook. And I'm not mad at the audiobook anymore. I'm actually kind of enjoying the way that it's narrated. So I am enjoying the audiobook now. And for the first 50 pages, I was sure I was going to DNF. The next 50 pages, I was like, I'm kind of interested. I'll give it until 200. And now things are happening that I want to know. I really want to know what's going on. It's like a little bit weird, but mostly it's just a lot of awful rich people. And I don't really love stories about awful rich people. But I guess the point of view of the book is that they're awful rich people. So that's making me feel a little bit better. I'm conflicted about the merits of this book, but I am interested to see what's going on because there has been a reveal that has just happened. I want to know what happened. I want to know more about that. I want to know how we're gonna get, because in the first prologue chapter it tells you that someone's been murdered. And I want to know how we get there from this point. So I think I am going to finish it. I think I am going to read the entirety of this book this week. And I reserve the right to DNF at any point. But I think at this point I'm going to finish it. And I'm not mad at it. I'm definitely not mad. Hello. This morning I finished The Secret History. This did not work for me, unfortunately. I feel the same way about this book than I do about a lot of classics written by like dead old white guys, and the fact that there's a lot of casual homophobia and sexism and racism in here that I don't really understand why it's in a modern book. I really just don't understand its place, and I don't think it's necessary. I understand that Donna Tartt is trying to portray these characters as being rich and out of touch and not good people. You know, this isn't set in 2022, but still, I didn't love it. That being said, I do see a lot of her inspiration for this book. I do see why this sparked the whole dark academia craze, but I just think there's better books out there now. I don't think if you like dark academia, I don't think you need to read this book, even though this is the dark academia that everyone has read. There's not a lot of really intense conversation about the Greek that they're studying because they're classics students. I found much more enjoyment in the studying academia aspects that we got out of Babel, and also in Catherine House, and to a lesser extent Vita Nostra, because the academics were a really big part of that book, but they're not academics that you would have studied because what they're studying is so speculative, if that makes sense. It wasn't as compelling as I wanted it to be. I almost took this off the TBR for this video because it's such a big book and I wasn't super excited about it. I'm glad that I read it so that I can tell you guys that you don't need to read it. This is one of those books that I feel it makes sense for me to read because I have a YouTube channel talking about books and recommending books to people, but I don't think this is a book that it makes sense for everyone to read. If you're not super interested in it, skip it. If you've read this book and you liked the conversations about people who have murdered someone, trying to grapple with that mentally and the psychological impacts of that, I think you should read Crime and Punishment because that's a huge aspect of that book, and I think it's done better in Crime and Punishment than it was done in here. That being said, if you've read Crime and Punishment and you're looking for more things like that and you want to see multiple people grappling with that instead of just one character and see different points of view and different people having their mental breakdowns because they murdered someone, this might be a good option for you. If you want a story about a group of people who murder someone, I think there's better stories out there. If you want a dark academia, I think there's better dark academias out there. I would recommend Babel, Catherine House, Vita Nostra. So those are my thoughts on The Secret History. I'm glad it inspired a lot of people to read more of this genre. I'm glad it inspired a lot of people to write in this genre. R.F. Kuang being one of those people. She has said that Babel is a response to The Secret History. So I'm happy that it exists in that way, but I don't think it's one of those things that you need to read. If you're here to understand a deep dive of how dark academia has existed throughout literature, you should probably read this. But if you're reading dark academia because you enjoy stories about people in academic settings who are doing dark things, I don't think you need to read this. I don't think we need to be reading things because we feel like we need to be reading them. We should be reading things because we enjoy them. Also, guess whose birthday it is? It's Sully's birthday. He's 1 year old today. Well, he's a rescue, so we don't really know when his birthday is, but I got him on November 15th. The vet said he was about 8 weeks old, so I'm gonna say that his birthday is September 15th. It is Thursday right now, which means that this video is not going up on Friday, but that's okay because I'm actually changing my entire video schedule because I am going down to only posting one video a week because I have this new puppy coming and I need to A, prepare for the puppy, and then B, I'm gonna be busy taking care of a fresh puppy when it arrives. I want to make sure that I am still putting out videos that I enjoy. I think the last couple videos I've put out, the production quality has not been what I wanted, and I think I'm going to be happier, and I think you guys will be happier if I'm able to put out higher quality videos once a week instead of still trying to stick to my upload schedule and post every other Tuesday. I just don't think that's going to work out anymore. So I'm switching my upload schedule. I'm going to be posting once a week on Sundays at 12 p.m. Eastern. So this is going to be the first video that goes up on there. I do have some videos that are pre-filmed that are going to tell you the wrong posting schedule. I'll try to edit it out if I can, but if not, I'm sorry. I know it's a little confusing, but I'll be posting once a week on Sundays now. I'll see you tomorrow to talk about Bunny. We gotta talk about Bunny. This book is so unhinged and I love it. Yes, all of this, yes. I am almost halfway through and this is gonna be a new favorite, I'm sure. I just finished part 1 and I am starting part 2 and oh my god. I'm not gonna spoil this book for you because you need to go into it knowing nothing. It's so freaking good. I'm not gonna talk to you until I finish it, but I keep staying up way too late to read this book because I physically cannot put it down. I'm so happy. I knew I was gonna love this, and I do love it. I'm gonna finish the rest of this today, and then I'll let you know my final thoughts. I finished Bunny last night. This book is so unhinged. I love it so much. This is definitely going on my favorites shelf. This is a incredible, incredible book. I absolutely love how the whole entire thing feels like a fever dream mental breakdown. It's so good. I know I didn't really tell you what this was about. So there's a group of girls in this graduate program. Our main character is also in this graduate program for writing. And this group of girls all call each other Bunny in like the most disgusting, over the top, like touchy-feely way. And it's so good. And our main character like slowly becomes, I guess, inducted into this like group of girls who call each other Bunny. And it just gets very culty very fast. This is, I guess, classified as dark academia, but I don't really know if I would classify it as that. It's much more of a fever dream cult type story than it is dark academia. Although everything that they're doing does tie back to academics, so let me know your thoughts. If you've read Bunny, do you think it fits in dark academia? Do you think it's more over here in a different genre? I don't really know if this can be classified in any genre because, I mean, it's horror. It's, I guess, dark academia. It's a cult story, kind of. It's very unhinged. It feels like a fever dream. And I loved every single page. I'm just gonna read you some of the first page because it's just a writing style that I haven't really encountered before. We call them bunnies because that is what they call each other. Seriously, Bunny. Example, hi Bunny. Hi Bunny. What did you do last night, Bunny? I hung out with you, Bunny. Remember, Bunny? That's right, Bunny. You hung out with me and it was the best time I ever had. Bunny, I love you. I love you, Bunny. And then they hug each other so hard I think their chests are going to implode. I would even secretly hope for it from where I sat, stood, leaned, in the opposite corner of the lecture hall, department lounge, auditorium, bearing witness to 4 grown women, my academic peers, cooingly strangle each other hello, or goodbye, or just because you're so amazing, Bunny. How fiercely they gripped each other's pink and white bodies, forming a hot little circle of such rib-crushing love and understanding, it took my breath away. It's that absurd the whole way through. I think this is monowad at her finest. I did love it even more than All's Well, which I also loved. That means I have now read 6 dark academia books. Here's the stack. This is everything that I have read, dark academia. I learned a lot about dark academia, and I just have to say, it's definitely for me. Send me all of your dark academia recommendations in the comments. I would love to hear them. I would love to continue reading more of this during the fall season. I think fall is the perfect time for dark academia, so I would love all of it. All of your dark academia recommendations. Please give them to me. This is my ranking. Babel #1. I think Catherine House and Bunny are tied for my second favorite. Then Vita Nostra, and these two I did not love. So if you're looking for darker academia, I recommend Babel. This book is so important if you like R.F. Kuang's writing style or you want to think deeply about the concept of dark academia or colonialism. This is your book. If you want something unhinged, please read Bunny. If you are nostalgic about your time in university and you want some ambiguous ending, sort of fever dreamy dark academia vibes, Catherine House is your go. If you're wanting something that pushes the boundaries and goes very extreme in a really amazing speculative way, I think this is definitely your book. These two didn't work for me. If they work for you, I'm glad. Okay, that's where I'm gonna leave you. I'm now gonna be posting every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern, so I will see you